Imagine popping a tiny pill before bed, something natural, something your own body makes, to help you drift off to sleep. It seems harmless, maybe even healthy. After all, it's not a prescription drug with a laundry list of side effects. It's just melatonin, right? For years, millions have turned to this widely available supplement as a gentle nudge toward better sleep, especially in a world that never seems to quiet down. But what if that nightly ritual, repeated night after night for months or even years, quietly carries a cost far beyond a poor night's rest? A new analysis of real-world medical records is sounding a warning. Long-term melatonin use may be linked to a significantly higher risk of heart failure and early death, particularly among those already struggling with chronic insomnia. This finding cuts against the grain of popular belief. Melatonin has long enjoyed a reputation as the safe sleep aid, the go-to for jet lag, shift work, or those restless nights when sleep feels just out of reach. Marketed as natural, non-habit forming, and available without a prescription in many places, it's easy to see why people reach for it again and again. Unlike powerful sedatives that leave users groggy or dependent, melatonin feels like a soft, biological whisper, just helping your body do what it's supposed to do. Yet science is now suggesting that even the gentlest seeming interventions can ripple through the body in unexpected ways when used over long periods. The study in question didn't come from a small lab or a fringe journal. It draws on an enormous pool of anonymized health records spanning multiple countries and hundreds of thousands of adults, all diagnosed with chronic insomnia. Researchers carefully matched people who'd been using melatonin for at least a year with others who had similar health profiles but no record of melatonin use. The goal was to isolate melatonin's potential influence by controlling for age, sex, existing conditions, medications, and other variables that might otherwise muddy the picture. And what emerged was striking. Those in the long-term melatonin group were far more likely to be diagnosed with heart failure, hospitalized for it, or die from any cause over the following years. Now, correlation is not causation, a point the researchers themselves emphasize. It's entirely possible that people who rely on melatonin long-term are dealing with more severe or complex forms of insomnia, perhaps tied to untreated sleep disorders like sleep apnea, chronic stress, depression, or other underlying health issues that themselves strain the heart. The supplement might simply be a marker of deeper trouble, not the trouble itself. Yet even after accounting for many known risk factors, the association held strong. That resilience raises legitimate concern. It suggests melatonin's biological effects, while helpful for resetting circadian rhythms in the short term, might interact with cardiovascular systems in ways we don't yet understand when taken persistently. Melatonin isn't just a sleep signal. It's a hormone with receptors scattered throughout the body, including the heart, blood vessels, and immune system. In theory, it has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties that could be protective. But biology is rarely so straightforward. The doses found in supplements often dwarf the body's natural nighttime output. A typical pill might contain 3, 5, or even 10 milligrams, hundreds of times more than what the pineal gland releases on its own. What happens when such high, sustained levels flood the system night after night? Do they disrupt other hormonal pathways? Alter blood pressure regulation? Interfere with the delicate electrical rhythms of the heart? These are unanswered questions, but the new data hints that we may have been too quick to assume the answer is nothing. Another layer of complexity comes from how melatonin is regulated, or rather, how it isn't. In many countries, including the United States, it's sold as a dietary supplement, meaning it bypasses the rigorous safety and efficacy testing required for pharmaceuticals. There's no guarantee that what's on the label matches what's in the bottle. Independent tests have repeatedly found wide variations in actual melatonin content, sometimes double the labeled dose, sometimes barely any at all. Add to that potential contaminants or unlisted ingredients, and the picture becomes even murkier. People think they're taking a consistent, clean substance, but in reality, they might be exposing themselves to unpredictable chemical loads night after night. This is especially troubling for those using melatonin not occasionally, but as a nightly crutch. Chronic insomnia itself is a known risk factor for heart disease. Poor sleep stresses the body, elevates cortisol, dysregulates metabolism, and increases inflammation, all of which wear down the cardiovascular system over time. If someone is already in that vulnerable state, adding a high-dose, unregulated hormone into the mix might tip the balance. Or perhaps the very act of needing melatonin every night signals a deeper dysregulation in the body's sleep-wake machinery, one that correlates with other hidden health risks. Either way, the message is clear: long-term reliance on any sleep aid, even a natural one, warrants caution. What's the alternative? For chronic insomnia, the gold standard treatment isn't a pill, it's therapy. Specifically, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. This evidence-based approach helps people retrain their brains and bodies to sleep without medication, addressing the thoughts and behaviors that perpetuate sleeplessness. It's not a quick fix, but studies show it's more effective long-term than any sleep drug, with zero physical side effects. Yet access remains limited, and awareness is low. Many people don't know it exists, or assume it's too time-consuming. Meanwhile, melatonin sits on every drugstore shelf, promising an easy solution. The irony is that sleep, true, restorative sleep, is one of the most powerful forms of preventive medicine we have. It supports immune function, clears brain toxins, regulates mood, and gives the heart a nightly reprieve from the demands of waking life. When we treat sleep as a problem to be chemically overridden rather than a rhythm to be nurtured, we may be solving one issue while sowing seeds for another. The body thrives on consistency, darkness, routine, and calm, not on external hormones flooding the system in unnatural doses. This new research doesn't mean everyone should throw out their melatonin tonight. Occasional use, for travel, temporary stress, or short-term disruptions, is unlikely to pose a threat. But it does challenge the cultural narrative that frames melatonin as inherently benign. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's safe in all contexts or at all doses. Water is natural, but too much can be deadly. Oxygen is essential, yet in excess, it becomes toxic. Biology operates within narrow windows of balance. The takeaway isn't fear, it's awareness. If you've been reaching for that little bottle every night for months or years, it might be time to pause and ask why. Is your insomnia being properly addressed? Have you explored non-drug strategies? Have you discussed your sleep struggles with a healthcare provider who can look for underlying causes like sleep apnea or anxiety? And if you do continue using melatonin, consider whether you're using the lowest effective dose for the shortest possible time. Science evolves. What we thought was harmless yesterday may carry caveats tomorrow. That's not a reason to distrust supplements, but to approach them with the same respect we'd give any active substance that changes how our body functions. Sleep is too vital to treat carelessly, and the heart, ever working in the background, deserves the same careful attention as the mind seeking rest. In the quiet space between wakefulness and sleep, the choices we make may echo far longer than we ever imagined. If this opened your eyes, even just a little, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who's been popping melatonin every night, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive into what's really going on with your health. Sleep well, stay curious, and remember, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's risk-free. See you in the next one.